Yeah.
I saw a Democratic National Convention one time, and
Hmm.
there was a guy that came on, and he was so proud. He was talking about how now more than ever, and this was like a few years ago, pre-pandemic, he was so proud and was just talking about how they built so many more hospitals and they have so many more beds for people in hospitals, and people were applauding that, and they were so happy that we have more hospitals than ever before. We have more beds. And I'm like, are you listening to what he's not saying? He's really telling you that there are people who are more sick than they've ever been before.
Yeah, he's
That's
trying to
what he's
hide
really saying.
that, but
That's what he's really saying.
switch the agenda with
Yeah.
his words. Like rhetoric is like one of my favorite words, but it's really like crucial to have that critical eye when you're analyzing like your world or what you're consuming, the information you're consuming.
Yeah. And rhetoric has nothing to do with wisdom, which is right discernment. It has nothing to do with what's right. It's just somebody saying whatever they want to say. You know, it's a sleight of hand.
What you said earlier about, African Americans being second class citizens, I was just thinking about when Mitch McConnell made that comment when he separated African American voters from American voters and everybody caught that. I mean, that just shows like the ignorance about some of our politicians or what they're subconsciously thinking when they have a slip. He couldn't even, I'm not sure if you saw that in the news, but he couldn't even figure out the word. And his press secretary had to tell him, no, Mitch, that's not the word. It's other Americans. And he kept saying almost. He said almost Americans. It's like he can't think for himself. Is it really the politicians who are doing the speaking, or is it their advisors?
Yeah. And that's how he and his constituents really feel. And even the larger problem is, what are we going to do about that? What are people going to do about it? You know, but be mad and reshare it and add to his reelection campaign. You know, it's a very crafty way that people do things. You know, when they say that bad press is better than no press at all, that is definitely true, especially when it comes to the game of politics. You know, and people don't care. They say whatever they want. We had a president that was elected that was the most crude, knuckle dragging, lowbrow human being that you can ever think of in that type of presidential position. But there was a large segment of the population that identifies with that, you know? And that really represented the face of this country.
Yeah, and it's back to your point about the things that he said. Rhetoric and wisdom are very two separate concepts, and he illustrates just that.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think was a benefit that did come out of his presidency is the fact that he exposed how parochial or how elementary politics can be because he wasn't speaking in a political language. And that made that political arena accessible to people that have never even thought about politics before. Because now he's speaking a layman's language that the average person could actually understand. So I've seen a lot of people who would never even have conversations, children even, who would never even have conversations about politics or anything like that, now just being interested in it because they had a person that made it so personable to them and crude that it allowed them access to learn about something that prior to that they might have been intimidated because you had people using 4 and 5 syllable words that just went right over their head.